So sure, offer up all the ideas of what more Harris could be doing in these few remaining days before the election. At the same time, it's actually you, the American voter, who needs to step up. Truly look at the choice before us. Listen to Donald Trump's speeches. Truth over lies, democracy versus fascism, or something like that looks like it. Your interests rather than revenge for Donald Trump's ego. The rule of law versus Donald Trump's lawlessness, kindness versus cruelty. If you are concerned about those things and are worried Harris could very well lose, well, do something. Get to work. As Barack Obama said in Pittsburgh last night, don't just sit back and hope for the best. Vote and help get out the vote. If we care about this experiment called America, the search for a more perfect union that has the possibility of being ever more perfect every day. Don't despair. Don't be discouraged. I mean, you can be, but don't just be. Don't just criticize. And women, I'm talking to you because this is about getting back our 50 years of rights so our daughters can be safe at the doctor. We know better.
They're not even hiding it anymore. Kate, this is so embarrassing. I mean, she's literally choking back tears on live TV, imploring her rapidly dwindling audience to get out and vote for a campaign that is in absolute tatters. I mean, give me a break. Truth over lies? Democracy over fascism? The desperation is so palpable, and I'm going to show you exactly why and why it's just getting started. Greetings, everyone. It is live stream Monday night. As always, I am your host, Dr. Steve, your Patriot Professor, here to help you stay sane in these clearly insane times, unhinged, I might say. So whatever you do, make sure you smack that bell and subscribe button, as we do every single Monday night. We've got our exclusive backstage private Q&A tonight. If you'd like to join our private virtual platform, no tears there. I promise. No crying in our backstage platform. You could ask me all your questions tonight. Just click on that link below. Go to fight.turleytalks.com/join and sign up for any level of support. You'll be given your own backstage pass to ask me anything you like, as well as fellowship with some of the coolest patriots on the planet. So make sure to click on that link or go to fight.turleytalks.com/join. Sign up for any level of support. You'll be given an instant link to take you right to this wonderful backstage private exclusive platform that we have, this lovely digital platform where you can ask me all your questions. It's going to be a great evening, and we will go there momentarily. But first, that was, of course, the ultra-leftist Mika Brzezinski of the equally ultra-leftist, ultra-woke MSNBC, reading the writing on the wall. She's reading I mean, what do you say? We're now 3 weeks away from the big day, and the election is nowhere near what these left-wing activists disguised as journalists want it to be. I was sharing this with you in one of our earlier videos today. I think it was the first or second one. I can't quite remember. This time, last election in mid-October 2020. Yeah, you see it right there. Biden was sitting on a 14-point lead, according to NBC. I'm sure you remember that, particularly over at MSNBC. They presented that poll with their smug little faces, knowing the fix was in, having no doubt that the senile man sleeping in his Delaware basement, actually just 20 minutes away from where I am right now, they knew he was going to prevail. It, of course, was a lot closer than they had planned for. They panicked finding that Trump came within 40,000 votes of winning, even after all of the puff polls, after all the shenanigans. It was the second closest presidential election in our nation's history, with Trump getting more votes than any other incumbent ever. But nevertheless, at least in mid-October of 2020, the far-left activists over at MSNBC could give off the vibe that Biden's got this. He's cruising to a decisive landslide victory in mere weeks. This is going to be epic. Trump is going down in flames. Times have changed. Today, just 3 weeks from the big day, You've got woke warriors like Mika now staring at this. Take a look.
Just a little more than 3 weeks away until Election Day, and as of today, the race has become a dead heat. New NBC News polling released today has the race tied with Vice President Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, both at 48% nationally among registered voters. It's a noticeable drop from last month's NBC poll that had Harris leading Trump by 5 points. Now, the comparison couldn't be more stark compared to the last time an incumbent vice president ran for the top of the ticket. At this point in 2000, then Vice President Al Gore had a 60% approval rating compared to Harris's now 43%. And while Gore won the popular vote, the infamous Bush versus Gore ruling from the Supreme Court allowed Bush to win the Electoral College.
So as you can see, they're freaking out. They're getting very, very, very nervous. This is there was no coverage even remotely like this 4 years ago. Okay, they are not, and there was no coverage like this in 2016. They thought, remember, New York Times said Hillary Clinton had a 90% chance of winning. Nate Silver, I guess he was 538 back then, only gave Trump a 13% chance of winning on November 7th, the day before the election. They're in uncharted territory. They don't know how to handle themselves here. And it's not just the national polls that have them melting down on live TV. I don't know how many of you caught Rich Barris as the People's Pundit Inside the Numbers program, his live stream today with Robert Barnes. But if you don't know, Rich oversees big data polling, and they just finished a several-day polling of Michigan. No one polls like Rich, by the way. Rich gets incredibly granular in his polling. He's so good. Remember, Rich called virtually every county in Virginia back in the 2021 Glenn Youngkin race. He was one of the first, just about a few weeks out from that 2021 gubernatorial race in Virginia. He was one of the first pollsters that began openly saying he thought Youngkin had this. Youngkin was on pace to do the unthinkable, winning as a conservative MAGA Republican, winning the governorship of Virginia. And of course, Republicans just swept that election down ticket. Governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, their state legislature. Gang, he's seeing the same thing here. He's seeing the same thing here, or in many ways, he's seeing the same thing, but in the inverse. Kamala Harris, according to Rich's new polling that he just released on Michigan, Kamala Harris is in serious trouble, or in Rich's words, she is in deep, deep trouble. Take a look at this. According this is Rich's extensive polling over the course of the last week or two, big data polling has determined that Donald J. Trump has opened up a 3.3 lead over Kamala Harris. This is when you factor in the leaners, those who aren't quite sure who they're going to vote for. 3.3 lead in freaking Michigan. You've got to remember, Michigan is considered the most left-leaning of the three blue wall states, Wisconsin and Pennsylvania being the other two. 3.3. And this lead, Rich is noticing, seems to be growing by the day, as it were. And the reason for that is exactly what we've been talking about now for months. Gang, like what did Rush used to say? We on this channel are on the cutting edge of societal evolution. So if you're not a frequent participant in this channel, make sure you smack that bell and subscribe button. We want you here on a regular basis. You do not want to miss one of these videos as we lead up to Election Day. 3 a day, every day, sometimes 4, like this live stream. So as Rich and Robert Barnes and a number of others were predicting, Trump is maximizing his rule base, the very base that he amassed in 2016 to blow Hillary out of the water, the very base he amassed in 2020 to come within 40,000 votes of blowing Biden out of the water. He is maximizing his rural base, while at the same time he is minimizing the Democrats' margins with their urban base with a record amount of non-white support. So Trump is maximizing his own support while minimizing KAMALAs. And that's exactly what Rich is seeing in terms of the numbers here in Michigan. So, for example, in terms of Michigan's rural vote, back in 2020, Trump won the rural vote in Michigan by around 54 to 45. Biden's 45. Biden actually did pretty well in the rural areas of Michigan. He came within 9 points of Trump. But now with KAMALA, with California KAMALA in the race, gang, Trump is winning the rural vote 66 to 34. 66 to 34. So with Biden back in 2020, it was 54 to 45, a 9-point win. Now with KAMALA, 66 to 34, a 32-point blowout. Trump has more than 3x'd his margins in rural Michigan since 2020, 66 to 34. This is what I mean about maximizing the support he had in 2016 and 2020. Rich was saying he has never seen margins like this before, ever in Michigan. He's never, particularly for Trump, never seen margins. The best he saw was in 2016. Trump had opened up a 60-40 lead over Hillary, a 20-point margin, but 30-plus points? Now, what's so interesting here is this is exactly, kudos to them, this is exactly what Barris and Barnes were predicting months ago. This was back in July, this was the risk the Democrats were taking by switching out Joe with KAMALA. The risk was, yo, Dems, you're going to lose the rural vote. You're going to lose the margins that you were able to cut away at. Biden at least was competitive with the rural vote. Old Scranton Joe, right? Old Scranton Joe versus big city Trump. I don't trust him. There was still plenty of that back in 2020. At least Biden was competitive in the rural areas of Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. But California KAMALA? Canadian KAMALA? They were warning she's going to be a disaster. She's going to do worse than Hillary. It's exactly what Barnes and Barris were saying. And that's exactly what we're seeing here. So kudos to those guys. Big shout out to them. KAMALA is literally hemorrhaging the rural vote. Trump has 3x'd his margins from 2020. But here's the key. It's not just his maximizing of his own rural vote. Trump is also crushing it with the urban vote. And by the way, the suburban vote, based on the big data numbers, the suburban vote hasn't changed. It's basically the same as 2016, 2020. Trump's winning the suburban vote by a couple of points, but it's remained relatively static. There's no movement there. Instead, you want to look at the rural vote and the urban vote. Trump, right now, according to this polling, is winning 32% of the urban vote. 1 in 3 urban voters are about to vote for Trump. 1 in 3. When you break that down in counties, Wayne County, where Detroit is, Wayne County, Trump is winning 40% of the vote. 4 in 10 residents in one of the bluest parts of Michigan are going Trump. Same with Allegheny County. Guys, seriously, Barris had Trump at barely 27% in these counties in 2020. Trump was in the 20s. He has now nearly doubled. He has nearly doubled his total in these urban areas. This is the talk of the town right now, even at CNN. Take a look.
There's a trend line that I never noticed before and make me go, whoa. This is one of them, all right? This is the Democratic margin among black men under the age of 45 in presidential elections. You go back to November of 2012, what do you see? You see Obama by 81. Clinton only won him by 63. Then we're all the way down to Biden last time around by 53. a tremendous drop already. And then you take a look at the average of the most recent polls, and Kamala Harris is up by only 41 points. That is about half the margin that Obama won them by back in November of 2012. And this, I think, is, when Barack Obama goes in last week when he was in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, essentially talking to young black men, he made it seem like it was a Kamala Harris specific problem. This is part of a long-standing trend of young black men moving away from the Democratic Party, and Kamala Harris is just the latest to face that magnitude of younger black men going towards the Republicans.
That was most interesting here is the trend line and where some of the biggest drops happened or already happened in this case. How about black men overall?
How about black men overall? It's part of the same picture. We're looking once again, if younger black men, it looks like the worst Democratic performance since 1960, since JFK versus Richard Nixon. It's the same thing among black men overall. Again, part of a similar trend, but here actually the drop-off isn't as dramatic, right? Barack Obama won him by 85, then you see 71 with Clinton, 69, Biden, basically the same thing, holding steady. But here, again, very, very weak, only a 54-point margin. Now, again, still winning them by a large margin, but considerably lower than what we're used to, certainly considerably lower what we had during the Obama years. The bottom line is Kamala Harris with younger black men and then black men overall putting in historically weak performance for a Democratic candidate.
Is she getting any relief with black women?
All right. So, we're talking about the trend line, right? And black women, look, she's doing better with black women than she is doing among black men. But here, there isn't a trend line almost until we get to Kamala Harris. So again, this is a black margin among black women. Look, Obama won him by 93, very large margin. Clinton won him by 93, a very large margin. Biden did a little bit worse at 85. But then you look here, and you get a 71-point margin. Now, again, these are large margins, but the bottom line is when you're talking about the base of the Democratic Party, you would think that Kamala Harris would do very well among black women based upon history, and of course she would be the first black woman president, but she's actually doing the worst for a Democratic candidate among black women since 1960, if this holds, John.
And again, when you look at the numbers here, whenever you come in, looking at the trends is probably the most important thing.
You got it, my friend.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And when you're dealing with elections that are decided, particularly in these swing states, are decided by 1, 2 points, 3 points, or even in 2020, 10,000 votes here, 10,000 votes there, 20,000 votes there. This is insane. And so once again, we can see Trump's strategy for 2024 coming in full fruition here. For the last several months on this channel, we've been talking about Trump's strategy as maximizing his own rural base, all the while minimizing the Democrats' urban base by shaving off their margins, getting record numbers of black voters, especially black men under the age of 50, Latino voters, Asian voters, Muslim or Arab American voters who are inordinately represented in the state of Michigan. Michigan has the highest density of Muslim or Arab Americans in the nation. All these groups are going for Trump in record numbers. Now, remember, he doesn't have to win any of these groups. He just has to shave off enough of the Democrats' margins while at the same time maximizing his own with the rural vote to guarantee that Kamala is completely boxed out of winning the Electoral College. Now, of course, these are just the polls. The polls are but one predictive indicator for how this election is going to turn out. We've got the latest on the early voting that's happening right now in more and more states. And gang, it's all showing the exact same picture. And that is precisely what's bringing Mika to the verge of tears. But first, gang, if you're just joining us, as we do every Monday night, tonight we've got our exclusive backstage private Q&A. And if you'd like to ask me your questions, you can, but you need a link to get to our private virtual platform and ask me any questions you like. So you can do that by clicking on the link below or go to fight.turleytalks.com/join. That's fight.turleytalks.com/join. You can click on that link and join our club, our Courageous Conservative Club, any level that you like, I believe. I don't even know, but just click on it and you'll figure it out. And you'll be given your own backstage pass to ask me anything that you like, as well as fellowship with some of the coolest cats, coolest patriots on the planet. All right. So as I'm sure most of you know, early voting is well underway. We've been seeing Republicans crushing it in Pennsylvania. They're crushing it in Virginia. They've been crushing it in North Carolina. God bless them with the adversity that they've been facing. In Pennsylvania in particular, Republicans have doubled their early mail-in voting from this time in 2020. Doubled. Whereas Democrats are down. They're down significantly. In North Carolina, voter registration just closed, and for the very first time in North Carolina's history, Republican active voter registration, so those are voters who voted in the last few elections, Republican active voter registrations now outnumber Democrat active voter registrations. Absolutely unprecedented in North Carolina's history. We've never seen anything like it. And to make it even worse, gang, North Carolina Democrats inordinately vote Republican. There is a whole swath of North Carolina Democrats who notoriously, for the Democratic operatives and Democratic leadership, notoriously vote Republican. They're Republicans in everything but name only. They just never, they're old school Southern Democrats that just never switched over their formal party affiliation. Things just keep getting better and better in Virginia. In Virginia's early voting, the numbers, they just continue to be mind-blowing. Everyone's waiting for this massive surge in Democrat votes. And here we are 3 weeks into it, and it hasn't happened. As a matter of fact, as I understand it, over the weekend, we saw the biggest surge yet of Northern Virginia vote, and the state just got more red. It's absolutely mind-blowing. I don't think anyone imagined this in their wildest expectations a couple of months back. This is the latest from L2 data. This is the way Virginia is looking right now. A lot of red, a lot of purple. Democrats right now are basically 53% of the vote. Republicans are 42%. Now, just to give you a sense of how significant that is, back in 2021, when Glenn Youngkin went on to win the governorship in Virginia, at this time in the race, Democrats were 65% of the vote. Republicans were 35. It was a 30-point difference. Today, according to L2's model, that lead has shrunk to 11 points. It's mind-boggling. Literally no one expected this. This is incredible. That's what people were, we will see. I'm a skeptic when it comes to Virginia. I'll admit it. I don't think KAMALA is going to do well. I think she's going to be around Hillary territory of winning it maybe 3, 4, 5 points. Well, what happened to Hillary? What happened to the last Democrat who won Virginia by just 5 points? Okay. KAMALA may even be worse at this point. So we will see. There are many on the ground in Virginia who know the state much better than I am that said, guys, keep your eye on this. Virginia could flip. This is amazing stuff. But again, we could keep going. It's not just Virginia. It's not just North Carolina. It's not just Pennsylvania. Look at the latest from New Hampshire. New Hampshire just started voting. Take a look at this. By comparison, back in 2020, the Democrats were beating Republicans by 17 points at this time in their early voting, 43% to 26% of the vote. Gang, look at it now. It's Democrats, but by 7, 39 to 32. It's a 10-point swing, a double-digit swing to the Republicans. Again, the key here is that we're just seeing the same pattern everywhere, which promises to be predictive of the electorate as a whole in 2024. Republicans are up, and they are way up. All at the same time, Democrats are significantly down. This is the consistent pattern we're seeing quite literally everywhere. I'm not kidding. Let's go over to Arizona. Maricopa, Arizona just published their voting records. I believe they started today. I think that's when voting started in Arizona. Can we turn it to Maricopa? Micah, do you have Maricopa? No? Maybe I'll give it to you. We'll have it. You'll just have to write it down. Republicans in Maricopa County. So I believe voting started today in Arizona, early voting. Maricopa County, by far the largest county in all of Arizona, 60% of the population lives there. He who wins Maricopa wins Arizona. First votes in, Republicans are crushing it. They've opened up a massive lead. 18. Oh, I know. Sorry, Micah said I didn't provide a link to that. Forgive me, Mike. I should have put it in there. 1,800 Republican votes to 1,300 Democrat votes. I got it in front of me here. 1,800 Republican votes to 1,300 Democrat votes. Remember, Republicans have been completely trouncing the Democrats in terms of voter registration trends in Arizona, in particularly Maricopa County, such that Arizona may end up, when all is said and done, with being +6 Republican this cycle. Those numbers are reflective precisely of that. Those numbers are reflective of that kind of Republican dominance in terms of voter registrations. Absolutely astonishing. So it doesn't matter where we're looking, East Coast, West Coast, North, South, it doesn't matter. It could be the polls, it could be voter registration, it could be national polls, it could be state polls, it could be voter identification, it could be early voting. All of it is showing the same thing. Republicans are surging, all the while Democrats are struggling. And that is why Mika is having such a hard time holding it together. Over to you, gang. Micah, why don't we do a question or two or so before we go over to our own private Q&A?
All right, sounds good. Let's get into that Q&A, guys. If you want to ask your question, you can just go to this link. It's in the description on any platform that you're on, whether it's X, Rumble, YouTube. You can go right to fight.turleytalks.com/join. I'll pull it up there. Right there, you can see Dr. Steve. And not only that, but the reason that we're able to bring you all this information and truncate it down into nice bite-sized daily videos or bi-weekly, live streams. The reason is that we have a bunch of you that are supporting us in this Insiders Club and the Courageous Conservatives Club, as we call it. So we've got about 5,000 members right now, and we would love if you would come and join us. And because it's not about us, it's about you guys and the change that we can all, as a group, make. So we got the election coming up. So every one of your support counts. So if you want to just go check out the link, fight.turleytalks.com/join. Join any level of support. We have 3 different levels, and just see what we're offering. We've got a nice page for you to check out, and we'll all hang out, and then you can ask your questions here. So let's get into some of the questions. We've got a bunch of them from a bunch of different courageous conservatives. Cold Iron Walrus 91 asks, I'm very concerned about the numbers of illegals voting in this election. More specifically, I've heard about small red state communities being flooded with migrants. What are the chances of KAMALA Ding Dong winning some of those states? That's one of the better nicknames I've heard.
That's a very good one. We're all watching it very carefully. We're all very concerned of how the Democrats would potentially weaponize that. The key to keeping an eye on that, Cauldron, is to watch for the voter registrations, because can't vote unless you're registered, can't vote early unless you request a ballot. So what we've got 2 objective indicators to determine the extent to which there's any shenanigans here. The first one is the voter registration. And right now, as we speak, we're not seeing anywhere that I know of, anywhere where Democrats are totally crushing it in terms of voter registration and just overwhelming Republicans. Not seeing it. In state after state, for the exception of Colorado, and I think even, unfortunately, I think Delaware, my state, Republicans all have a voter registration advantage. In Pennsylvania, 67 counties in Pennsylvania, 66 have all moved right. And the one that hasn't, the 67th, has moved left by 0.2. So we're crushing it in terms of voter registration. So I'm not seeing it there. They'd have to be in the system. They've got to get registered. Even in 2020, they were all, quote, registered, right? They were all in. That's why, that's why all the secretaries of state could say, well, what do you want? The amount of votes that we have match perfectly with the database that we have. So we've got the data. The databases have all been cleaned up since 2020. We're not seeing them in the database. And obviously, then we're not seeing this massive Democrat advantage in terms of requesting early ballots. So we do have some objective indicators here. I want to caution everyone. There are trolls out there. There are supposed right-wing trolls. They're Democrats. They're trying to discourage you. They're trying to prevent you from voting. They're trying to disparage you. Do not listen to them. Okay, just stay focused on these objective indicators. And if we see a major change there, then we'll know there is some definitely something is rotten in the state of Denmark. Then something is definitely up. Until then, all of that is just rumor and innuendo. We're not seeing anything of significance there.
All right. Candace has a question. Dr. Steve, the financial and intel analyst Jim Rickards predicted that Trump would win the 2016 election. He is now saying that Trump will win the 2024 election, but that Kamala will be in the White House. I am assuming that he is referring to the murmurs from the Democrats that they will not certify the Electoral College results if Trump wins. What do you think?
I don't know. I don't know this guy, Jim Rickards, so I couldn't. What he's saying here sounds patently absurd, to be honest with you. If Trump wins the election, yes, there will be some Democrats who refuse to certify him, like in 2004 for Bush, and in 2016 for Trump. That's nothing new. That's what Jamie Raskin would do. That's fine, but the vast majority would. They know it would be the end of their parties. They know it. There would be such a massive revolt against the Democrats. They probably won't have a majority for the next 40 years.
Elizabeth asks, is there any example of a government deliberately destroying its economy and sovereignty in world history? Can anarcho-tyranny last?
Yeah, that's a great question. I can't think of it. It's what's odd. The way I think you have to think about it. What's odd about our government is they're not, our elites are not, as you've figured out, they're not loyal to the United States. They're loyal to a globalist system whereby a tremendous amount of power and affluence accumulate in the hands of very, very few. This is this neo-feudalism that we're talking about. And the anarcho-tyranny that you're mentioning there is one of the ways of destabilizing the nation and preventing any major dissent, any major defiance, as it were, to the system. That's where wokeness is in. It is employed. Wokeness is there to emasculate us and to basically make us compliant consumers and workers, right? So the two things we're supposed to be, the two things we're supposed to be doing is working for the masters of the system and then consuming. And they just see us as subjects in that sense. So they're not even thinking in terms of us as a nation per se. They're thinking of us as a conglomerate, a collection, as a population center, and then they'll want to weaken that population center to the extent that they think it offers a very real blowback or backlash against their power. But if they're in compliance with that power, then they'll be very placid towards it. So I don't think they're thinking of us in terms of an actual sovereign nation, and let's weaken this nation, our nation, for some nefarious purpose. I think they literally see us as part of an overall collective. But that is nevertheless problematic because of this MAGA movement and the populist revolt.
America the Free 76, one of our regulars, has a question. Will the Brett Baier Kamala Harris interview be laughably softball, or will we see some gotcha moments to further the needle for Trump?
That's a good question. We'll have to see. I mean, just all her interviews are disasters at this point. And she's being interviewed. It's just going to be, she is obviously not comfortable for whatever reason. She is not comfortable in an interview moment, in an interview setting. So it could be the women at The View. It could be, what is it? Call Her Daddy. I mean, it could be in any environment. And she's just, it's 60 Minutes. She's just a disaster. She's just a wreck. By the way, keep the pressure up on X, whatever you need to do, whatever. I mean, again, politely and so forth, but keep the pressure up on CBS. They should be releasing, as Trump has called for. They as a reputable news service, they should be releasing the entire tape of Kamala's obviously disastrous interview that they had. That they literally stepped in and ended up editing on her behalf to her benefit. That is not a news reputation. That is a full blown. That's a campaign. That's an extension of the Democrat National Committee. I mean, they are literally campaigning for her at that moment, literally. And so, I don't think Fox is going to do that. I don't think. Brett Baier, I'm not a fan of, but I think he still has some integrity. And he knows we're watching. Even Trump came out and said, we're watching. And Fox better watch out, because whatever's left of their audience will disappear. We crushed Fox after 2020 and after J6 of 2021. We crushed them. They were third. They were behind CNN. They were behind MSNBC. Newsmax at one point even surpassed Fox. We could crush Fox if we want to. So I don't watch them. I have nothing. I mean, I'll watch clips, on X, but I don't watch them at all. I'd never go to Fox's news site. I mean, to me, they're just a legacy. I think the Murdochs are scumbags, to be honest with you. So anyway, we'll see. But it just doesn't matter. She could be given T-ball. Forget softball. She could be given T-ball questions. She'll screw them up.
Yeah, I think she's been given every metaphor for the easiest path to a November presidential election I've ever seen from the media.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen that many, but it's still, it's amazing. It's absolutely incredible. All right. We've got another question from Bert. Bert asks, hi, Dr. Steve. Do you think if more counts start to think like the courts?
I think he meant courts.
Yes. Yeah. Courts start to think like the New York Appellate Court is acting. Other courts might follow suit, so to say.
Well, I mean, if you're talking about the Leticia James case against Trump, yes, I do. I think most courts outside of that Manhattan district where Trump was tried both times, I think most all courts outside of it thought it was absolute lunacy. And they were very upset at it. The way it delegitimized the courts is the one public institution that thus far still maintains a certain level of respect, trust, and confidence is our court system. That's falling apart. Absolutely, that this weaponized legalism, this lawfare, has destroyed whatever semblance, whatever confidence, whatever trust was left in the court system. It is in tatters now, and the Supreme Court knows that. I think the appellate court in New York, that's just looking at this absurd case against Trump, this utterly absurd case against Trump. I think they all recognize this. This was a huge miscalculation. And that's the irony. It didn't even work. Trump got stronger as a result. Public sentiment rallied around him because they saw him as obviously victimized. And nobody likes the government bullying on somebody. Nobody likes that at all. So I think most courts hopefully have learned their lesson. But we'll see. Jack Smith is still out there doing his best to try to get somebody's attention.
Yeah, it's amazing with all the stuff going on. And I keep saying on X, to referring to that last question, we would have no idea that 60 Minutes interview had been edited the way it had been if we didn't have X. We'd have none of that.
Yeah,
So,
we can fact check them now. That's what makes the time we're living in so interesting, is we have now the ability to fact check the media.
Yeah. And it's also incredible relating that question with this question. They thought Trump was going to be dead at this point. They didn't think they'd have to worry about it. They could just swap out Biden with Kamala and not have to worry about the rural vote or anything like that. Because all these court cases, it's amazing.
Right.
Richard Maynard asks, Dr. Steve, your thoughts on Cackles doing a pre-recorded interview on Fox with Brett Baier. So
is it is that what they agreed to? Okay.
I guess. So maybe your thoughts on the pre-recorded.
I don't like that. I don't like, I don't mind pre-recorded as long as the full tape is made available and there are no edits. Fine. I'm sure Trump does pre-record, but generally speaking, the media is supposed to they're supposed to speak truth to power. They are part of the balance of power. This is what makes the left-wing media so utterly pernicious. They are part of a balance of power. They are supposed to be able to effectively hold our leaders accountable for the decisions they make over our lives, all collectively. And instead, the legacy media now has become part and parcel of that rule, right? So very much like the regulatory agencies have now become unidentifiable, indistinguishable from the industries they're supposed to be regulating. We saw that particularly with the banking industries, with Barney Frank, the Democrat, passing all these regulatory laws on banks. And what's the next thing you see after he retires from Congress? He's sitting on the board of one of the major national banks. I mean, the guy, so the revolving door between the industry and the regulatory agency has basically in effect made them one. The revolving door that we saw with national security agencies going into Twitter, through the Twitter files, where there were so many ex-FBI agents at Twitter. They had their own Slack channel, for heaven's sakes. They had their own onboarding process, and they were sheep dipping. Everybody knows that now. They were sheep dipping, which is you're technically discharged from whatever national security agency you're working with, in this case, the FBI. But what in reality is you're working undercover in this private organization. This is exactly what the legacy media has become. The legacy media has become a propaganda machine. The legacy media is not covering Kamala's campaign. The legacy media is Kamala's campaign. Write that down. Don't forget that. The legacy media is Kamala's campaign. So the line between our political elite and our pundit elite has been almost completely erased. And so that's what I think we're very, very concerned about and upset about. Hopefully, Fox will continue to maintain that line. They certainly do with Trump. They certainly do that. Murdoch, and make sure that they enforce enough of some line of accountability. You're not going to get that with someone like a Greg Gutfeld. He's just having a good time and making good, political commentary from the vantage point of the right. You're not going to get that so much from Hannity or Laura Ingraham, but you're going to get it from Brett Baier. And if anything, he goes overboard almost to a ridiculous sense, just like Chris Wallace was doing. Try to hold our leaders accountable. Fine. I just want to make sure make sure it is symmetrical. Make sure you're doing that with Kamala. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm excited for the contrast of whatever this interview ends up being and Joe Rogan and Trump. Because
and the very fact that she's having to do it means her internals must be disastrous right now. And we're so late in the game. I don't know how she's going to turn things around at this point. I just don't see the votes. I don't know where they're coming from.
I hope Fox says, sure, we'll pre-record it, but we're just going to air it as if it was live.
Yeah,
just
as is. Yeah.
Completely unaltered, because
I
can't imagine there's not a question where she just stares into space.
Exactly. And if Brett Baier is the occasion for her just self-imploding, he might end up becoming a hero again. So this is This is a make or break for him. But if he screws it up, and if he's seen as in any way, shape, or form trying to make her look good, I mean, Fox is doomed. I just don't see them surviving it.
What they should do is they should switch out Brett Baer and Megyn Kelly at the last second, because Megyn Kelly hates Kamala so much.
Yeah. Oh my.
That'd be awesome.
Amazing.
New anchor.
And again, back in the day, back in 2016, she supposedly was the one who was holding Trump accountable, right? They had a major falling out on one of the debate stages. So yeah, no, it's almost like it's coming full circle there.
Yeah. It's awesome. All right, we've got a good question here from Carol. Not that the other ones weren't, but this is juicy. Carol asks, my cousin, who is a Canadian citizen in Canada, just got a mail-in voter registration for Pennsylvania. SOS. Will they never stop tuning in tonight? So once again, you can calm my heart. Your grandma.
Oh, grandma groupie. Yeah. Well, on Friday's live stream, I gave a series. Thanks to Jack of Red Eagle Politics. Big shout out to Jack. But I gave a series of links to all of these different organizations you can contact to make sure that we have an integral vote, and to make sure that you can canvass the vote, make sure that you can protect the vote in all kinds of ways. One is protectthevote.com, protectthevote.com. And the other one is Early Vote Action. That's Scott Pressler's earlyvoteaction.com. And you can definitely reach out to them and see if you can verify what's going on here, what's happening, that kind of stuff. Look, in the end, the only way they pulled off 2020 was everybody basically got a mail-in ballot. Everybody who was registered got a mail-in ballot. Now you have to request it. And as I understand, if you didn't request it, it's not legal. You're not allowed to get it. If you do have a mail-in ballot and it's been sent in, it can be canvassed, meaning that we can trace it back and see what's going on here, who sent it in. And if we found out it's a Canadian citizen who's not a citizen of the United States, that can be overturned. Right now, as we speak, we are not seeing anything like the scare that's out there about illegal voting. We're not seeing it. And again, I'm going to push back on you, Carol. Where are we seeing that in the numbers? Where are Democrats absolutely crushing it? Where? Now, I know we're scared to death of the 3 a.m. truck, but that's when 70% of the country was voting by mail. That's when everyone had a mail-in ballot. And we just had no idea how many mail-in ballots were going to come in. We didn't. We had no idea. We didn't know how many mail-in ballots versus how many people are going to show up and vote. We had no idea. Now we do. We do, because you have to request the mail-in ballot. We now know that. And if something like that were to happen again at 3 a.m., that would be immediately called out as illegal. And there's no way they could push back and say, oh, no, it's just because of COVID, because we don't have those COVID-like conditions right now. Do not allow these grifters online to scare you. They are there. And I'm telling you, I think half of them are Democrats trying to discourage you and dissuade you from participating in the process. So do not give in to them. If you do have a personal situation, find out where it's from and you contact them immediately and you find out what's going on.
Yeah, speaking of that list of links and other, things you can do to help Trump get elected, it's your homework. I just posted it in the descriptions for Excellent. YouTube and Rumble. So if you're watching on YouTube or Rumble, you can go to those descriptions. If you're on X or, you're on our private live stream, you can just go open up another tab, head on over. You can look and find in the descriptions the, multiple steps of what you can do to secure this election. These are actionable steps. And again, these are things that we go over in great detail in our Courageous Conservative Club, that if you're a member with us, we give you the full scoop. We hold your hand through this process of securing elections and how to better your mind so that you aren't influenced by these liberal trolls online who want to make you hopeless, make you, just give up and go, I guess, liberal women are going to sway the vote. The black vote is too much. Kamala is too nice and Trump is too mean. It's all of this negativity. All of this is meant to dissuade you. And so you can go find all those resources in that description below on Rumble and on YouTube. And also, if you would like to get some more of the similar resources, you can go to fight.turleytalks.com/join. That's also in the descriptions below. And we will get you a lot of resources there. And you can ask any questions you want in the live stream on Monday nights and Friday mornings. So we will go over to our next question now from one of the people that have already done that. So May Vita Loca asks, without the backing from the two houses of Congress, there's a very limited amount that even Donald Trump can accomplish. We saw that with sneaky snakes, Paul Ryan and John Boehner. What are the Senate and House races looking like overall for 2024?
Well, we got the Senate. I mean, that's going to happen regardless even of the presidential race. At this point, there's no way they're losing West Virginia. Jim Justice will win West Virginia seat probably by 70 points. I don't think there's any way John Tester can pull it out in Montana. I think he's going down. I think Moreno's got it in Ohio because Trump's going to win Ohio by 10 points at least. We tend not to vote. That said, we tend not to vote split ticket anymore. So what that generally means then is whoever you're voting for in terms of the president, whatever party, that's going to be the party you're generally voting down ticket. So I know the polls are all kind of weird, especially in Arizona with Kerry Lake and stuff. I know the polls are kind of all over the place. It's pretty consistent. All the Republican candidates for Senate and House are polling about 5 points behind Trump. Even Ted Cruz is polling a bit behind Trump. But that if every other election is our guide, if past is precedent, as we say, that's going to tighten up. And now, if Trump only wins by like a point or two, no guarantee that he's going to be able to pull the Wisconsin Senate candidate in to beat what's her name, Butler. I'm forgetting her, or Baldwin. I think Baldwin, the Democrat in Wisconsin. This would be her third election if she wins. It may not be enough, although I'm sorry, I'm forgetting his name, but he is doing very, very well in Wisconsin right now. Same with McCormick in Pennsylvania. Casey is very weak, as he should be. He's one of the biggest scumbags on the planet. All he's doing is lying. I mean, he is just so overt. He's basically making himself Trump. I know, I'm in the Pennsylvania area. You see the commercials all the time. He's talking about border security. He's talking about bringing manufacturing jobs back home and protecting the American worker. And you're just like, you're a scumbag globalist, and you vote 99% with Kamala Harris. Give me a break. You're just a dweeb. So anyway, and they're trying to paint McCormick as the globalist, and it's just, I mean, it's the projection is insane. And then the House races will follow suit. Generally speaking, the House races will go. So if Trump wins, he should have a solid Senate and a solid House. That if Trump wins big, it's going to be a blowout. It's going to be a huge Senate and House victory. If he squeaks by, we'll see. He'll have the Senate. We'll see what the House. I mean, again, but as long as you've got the Senate, nothing the House does is going to prevent him. Again, I think Trump tried to work with Paul Ryan. I think he tried to work with the rhinos, Mike Pence being the ultimate one at the time, just like Reagan did in the 80s via Herbert Walker Bush. I think he tried to work with the establishment. He knows now with Kennedy and Elon Musk and Tulsi Gabbard and certainly J.D. Vance, he knows you cannot work with it. You have to destroy the establishment. He knows that now.
All right. We got a great question from Will O'Toole. Question 1, is Amazon hiding or promoting your book? 2, do you think the weekend allegations about Waltz and the plagiarism charge, aka Cackle's half legs? 3, Will the MAGA part of the GOP use the minority vote and make it a base vote in future elections? Thank you. And I think
right, great question.
These are great questions, and we're going to answer them on our private live stream.
All right.
We gave you guys an extended look at what our private live streams look like. You're lucky tonight. We didn't cut it off earlier. But again, all those resources are in the descriptions. You can go back to those once this live stream has ended. But again, this club is where you can get all the resources and the training necessary to equip yourself with a positive mentality going into this election, and an effective one to persuade, younger voters, older voters, your family members, your friends, your community, and influence, at the end of the day, the nation to vote according to your values that you want the country that you love to reflect. And that's what this club is all about. Yes, we answer your questions and we deep dive into all these topics. We have several workshops all dedicated to you and your transformation, from going from, is there any hope? Fox News is telling, I'm watching Brett Baer and he's not asking the right questions to Kamala. I'm freaking out. I think Kamala's going to win. CNN, MSNBC, all of these places are just programming you to be hopeless. And this is the liberal vaccination kit that we have, this whole club. And we have a workshop named that just for that. So we've got all of these workshops, all of these things. So there's like 5,000 of you watching us live. Thank you guys so much. We're going to head over to our VIP live stream. If you would like to join us over there and ask any question you'd like, we will answer that. And any future live streams that we have, you will be first in line to ask questions. So we're going to head over there to that VIP live stream. Go to fight.turleytalks.com/join. It's in the description of any platform that you're watching. And without further ado, we're going to get to that question, Will. So we will see you all over there in 30 seconds.